Hi, everyone. Nice to see you on this wonderful Tuesday, the 5th of December. Thank you for taking the time to join us. We are just starting to open up this webinar on HCL Informix and OneDB. So we're very glad that you're able to join us at this point. And what we'll do is we will wait a few minutes for everyone to start to filter in, obviously, previous meetings. And we are covering a large time zone. So we will wait for some people who are just getting to work as well to join. And then we will get started into our content. But thank you for joining so far. As always, if there are any questions that you do have throughout the duration of the webinar, please do post them in the chat. Comments are also welcome. We will be asking questions as we go. And we will have some experts here with some fantastic knowledge who are going to be able to answer any of the points that you might be wondering about the platform's. Great time to ask. I think we'll mention just how many years of experience we have on this webinar collectively, but it is a significant amount. And let me put it this way, if there's a question you have and the team can't answer it, I would be absolutely gobsmacked.
Jay, I have a couple questions that I may ask while we're waiting for people to join. Is that right?
Started early.
All right. I have actually a couple questions that I'm going to send out to everybody through the polling tool. So I'll go ahead and it's just a couple. I'll go ahead and send out the first one to see if it's working for our audience.
Okay, so first question, if you can't see it, I'll always narrate everything. I'm Jay, your MC for today, by the way, is which version or versions of Informix are you currently leveraging in your organization? We've got 4 different selections, 14.10, 12.10, 11.5 or 11.7, or none of the above. This will help us inform what we discussed today, because versions on anything, especially such an important system as Informix, are important. So we want to make sure that we can tailor this best to everyone that's taking the time today. Okay, see some results coming in. Thank you everyone for inputting those answers. We'll leave this open and we'll look to get started in about 2 minutes to make sure that we've given everyone sufficient time to work through links as well.
And Jay, I've got one more question.
One more, great.
Yeah, one more. I'll go ahead and launch the second poll. And this one is, which operating system are you currently leveraging?
Ah. All right. Thank you for everyone who is putting in those operating systems at the moment. All right, we can definitely see some interesting trends that will definitely help us as we discuss Informix and OneDB and the differences between the two and what is supported in some areas.
Yeah, great.
Okay. We'll give 1 more minute for those final answers and those final people joining us, and then we will get started. So again, welcome everyone to today's webinar looking at HCL Informix and OneDB. My name is Jay. I'll be your host for today, and I'll shortly introduce all of our wonderful speakers. Okay. So Diana, we are at 2:05 Australian Eastern. So then we've got Singapore time, and then we've got Indian Standard Time, which should mean that we've given everyone 5 minutes behind to jump on. Would you mind going to the first slide and we'll get started? Thank you. So good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jay Tuckey. I'm the sales director for Actian in Australia and New Zealand, and I will be your host for today's HCL Informix and OneDB webinar. I'm joined by my esteemed colleagues from Actian, experts in their field of Informix who have a combined 75 years worth of Informix experience between us today. So I just wanted to highlight that first and foremost, that we think that we are the best people to give you some fantastic information on the platform that is so important to so many businesses. So some of the staff that we have here at Actian who have such experience, JC is our chief architect for HCL Informix and OneDB. Say hi, JC. Thank you.
Hi, guys.
Hey, we've got Mary Schilt. Mary has also been working with the platform for over 30 years, which is just incredible. Say hi, Mary.
Hello.
For those of you keen-eyed, you'll see in the background, Mary, if you could point it out, she actually has one of the signs from the Informix building before it was acquired in her office. So this shows just how deep Mary goes with Informix. Mary will be providing us a fantastic demo later to come, and is one of our senior sales engineers with specific expertise in Informix. And we also have Emily Taylor, who is the HCL Informix and OneDB product manager as well.
Hey, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the globe. I am joining from Atlanta, Georgia in USA.
Wonderful. Thanks, Emily.
All right.
All right, let's move it forward. Diana? Fantastic. So we've got a few points that we will cover off today, but what I would ask is if there is anything outside that you would like us to discuss or you would like to take offline, please do put it in the chat. As I mentioned, we've got experts here today to make sure that we can answer anything to do with Informix. Specifically today, however, we will be discussing HCL Informix, and you'll hear me use that terminology throughout our discussion today, and that is on purpose. We will also discuss what this means throughout the presentation as well. A brief agenda of what we're going to try and accomplish today. Ideally, we're going to be talking for about 30 to 40 minutes on pre-structured content, slides you see here, and demos from Mary. And then we do invite discussion if you'd like to discuss via text or via just unmuting yourself at the end. We can do that via Zoom. For any questions that you might have for the platform or what you've heard today to clarify, we really, really welcome that. We will be going through, here's our agenda, an introduction to who Actian is, because this might be a new name for some people on the call. What's new in HCL Informix version 14.10, and that version is very important. So we wanted to take some time to make sure that we articulated that version, what it means and where it's going. I look at OneDB, which is actually where it's going after HCL Informix version 14.10. So Emily will be giving a product overview and the direction and some of the great features that have been added to that product. Mary will be giving us a migration path and demo to have a look at just how easy it can be to migrate to HCL Informix and OneDB. And then we'll be wrapping up with talking about areas where you can get more assistance for HCL Informix and OneDB and any resources that are readily available before you chat to the teams, myself, and some of the experts that we have available. And then we'll obviously wrap up with some Q&A. Fantastic. So this is a short disclaimer that we wanted to show. Essentially, the 3 points that this does highlight is that this package and these slides that we're going to show today are proprietary Actian information, and we do not give permission for any kind of reproduction, copying, or unauthorized transmission of this. They will be sent afterwards, and then any further information does need to come from Actian. Second is Informix being a trademark of IBM Corporation, and this is going to be used under license. HCL Informix is a licensed IBM product, and we will be treating it as such, and especially in the naming conventions. And the third is because we are talking about product roadmaps today, none of the information in this presentation is binding because obviously product roadmaps can change. Great. Assuming everyone has had a second to read that. Alrighty, so who is Actian? Actian might be a new name for some people who are joining this call. It might be a familiar name for others. Actian is a part of HCL software, and I'll explain that in a little bit more detail. A lot of people, in fact, most would have heard of HCL Technologies. HCL Technologies is one of the world's largest service integrators of advanced technology solutions and human outsourcing. HCL Technologies owns a software division. Now, this is comprised of both acquired and developed technologies that have been purchased and developed over a number of years, some of which acquired from IBM and some of which were acquired independently. Actian is one of those companies. Now, Actian has been around for over 50 years, which is seriously impressive, but you might have heard of Actian as their previous name of Ingress. So if Actian is a new name, perhaps Ingress is not. When we talk about Actian's involvement within HCL software, Actian represents the data and analytics portion of the HCL software portfolio. We are joined by many other software titles that have advanced features and functionalities that work in businesses and provide value to customers the world over, with thousands of enterprise customers currently using HCL software to empower their business. Now, these all come together, as you can see here, to provide what we call the digital plus economy. What this means is that digital is assumed in 2023 and digital enablement is absolutely essential. However, HCL software believe that our technology portfolio can enhance that and provide fantastic digital experiences, which we call Digital Plus. Next slide, please. Okay, getting started into why we're here. HCL Informix. HCL Informix, at its core, is a derivative of the intellectual property with a partnership with IBM. Essentially, what this means is that there is an IP partnership between HCL and IBM. HCL Informix is a licensed version of Informix, as you know it. HCL Informix have our own development and services available independent of IBM Informix. So it is a separate area of the product owned by HCL, however. That is the key distinction. We have increased our development and support staff over and above what has been available for previous years, meaning that there is enhanced focus and enhanced capability with this product from HCL and Actian that we believe can really empower data for our customers and for potential customers around the world. This comes down to us being able to provide services for existing, previous and new customers for Informix and OneDB to make sure that whichever goals that you may have are able to be achieved throughout using HCL Informix. One area that we are particularly passionate about here at Actian and HCL Software is customers being able to influence product direction. So by working with us on HCL Informix and becoming a part of that journey, we invite customers to be very close to the product direction, as Actian and HCL Software are responsible for the product direction of HCL Informix, and we really invite customers to tell us what they need and what functionality perhaps could be included in future versions. I do note that there are a lot of ISVs and partners joining us on today's call, so a special mention and thank you for your time today, but this is particularly relevant to you. If there are customers of HCL Informix or potential customers that are looking at database platforms that you think could benefit from enhanced features or specific areas for you, this is something we would like to ask for input for and engagement. We would love to introduce you to our development teams and the likes of JC, who work on the product and architect where it's going into the future. We want to make sure that we have everyone's opinion to make it great. One other unique licensing area when it comes to HCL Informix is that we have flexible core-based licensing. Now, we view this as being quite simplified and easy to understand and easy to construct depending on a customer's needs. So this is going to be key to where we move in the future. to providing simplicity. At HCL Software and particularly Actian, our mantra is make data easy. This comes down to our licensing as well, and we really believe that we can offer this to customers. Next slide, please, Diana. So if you haven't worked with Actian before, or anyone that you see on this call as a participant or moderator, here's what you can expect. We really believe that we've got something fantastic to offer for integration and data capabilities. And this starts with Informix. HCL Informix is compatible with IBM Informix. This is a really important point to know, as a lot of people have used IBM Informix in the past and are familiar with commands that we will see throughout the webinar today. And that compatibility starting at version 14.10 that Emily's about to take us through is very important. Working with Actian, you can also be assured of current updates, patches, and fixes to ensure security and to ensure compliance with the latest protocols. This is something that is a given for all software that Actian provides. However, this is, again, something that you can be confident in. Flexible deployment options is something we are passionate about. As Emily will discuss, we do see a range of people with different operating systems. This is something that customers have made decisions about that they are still working through. Operating systems are very important, and flexible deployment, whether that's a dedicated operating system or a virtualized cloud environment, is an area where we want to support customers in making those decisions and the decisions that have been made in the past. This also does mean that we do have free cloud native capabilities for this product, and actually take it a step further and provide you with complete freedom for your Kubernetes orchestration, being a bit of a differentiator that we see. Obviously, coupled with best-in-class support and engagement from the team here at Actian and HCL Software and our partner network is something that we're passionate about, providing you with a very knowledgeable services team who can work on the most complex of problems and help with any sticky points. With that, I'll hand over to Emily Taylor, our product manager for HCL Informix and OneDB, to take us through version 14.10 and beyond.
Thanks so much, Jay. Next. All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump into a quick discussion on what's new with HCL Informix and OneDB. Next slide, Diana. Before we dive into the details, I do want to just stress one more time or reiterate a couple of the points that Jay made, that at Actian, the data and analytics pillar of HCL Software, we are aiming to make sure that any of the individual customers that we work with, or partners on engagements for their end customers, that we really strive to provide I would call it the great reliability that this product brand has been known, I would say, for generations. It's really more for decades. Despite all of the years of experience our team has, but we've got a team who is very dedicated, especially the support organization, where we have very tenured individuals, folks all the way from sales and solutions engineering to product management and development, who are all really focused on just making sure at every step of the journey, from discovery through the sales process, through implementation of the product to support your applications, and then all the way through to renewal cycles, that you have a positive experience and an optimal customer experience. And we believe that we can do this with HCL Informix and OneDB with minimal change or disruption to your applications that may be based on this data management tool today. And we do offer, as Jay has already mentioned, flexible option for various stages of a cloud journey for customers who are interested either today or in the future, whether that's the immediate, near future, or long-term future in moving to the cloud. We have ways to do that, again, with sort of the traditional implementation, private public cloud, hybrid cloud, all the way through to Kubernetes cloud native with no vendor lock-in, and options on the marketplaces, which we'll come back to at the end of the presentation. So Diana, we'll go ahead and jump in now to HCL Informix 1410. I did notice in the poll that we asked at the top of the call that there was actually kind of a mixed response from the group. So our intent today is not to go very deep into the older versions, but I do just want to highlight for a couple of you who mentioned that you were on some of the 11.x versions, that the initial IBM Informix release of Informix was back in 2013, so just about a decade ago at this point. After the strategic partnership formed in 2017, we did release our first HCL branded HCL Informix offering in 2018. And so with that offering, some of the key highlights we've got listed here. So again, we won't go into them in great detail, but if you're one of those few customers who is on one of the version 11.5, 11.7, or even older, which might have been the none of the above option, these were just a few of the highlights, and there are many more. We would love to speak with you if you're interested in hearing more about all of the details and improvements that were delivered in 12.10, in the 12.10 version. And we'll go ahead, Diana, on to the next slide. Again, to just mention from a timeline perspective that the initial release of HCL Informix 14.10 was back in 2019. So again, we've got about 4 years under our belt here with the 14.10 code line. And what we have been striving for as a group is continuous improvement, of course, over every prior release. And so with the improvements that were brought out in 14.10, there were many different improvements in speed for the client application throughout replication and storage. The OLTP processing, transactional processing improvements were as much as 10% faster over the prior releases, 12.10. So for those of you who answered 12.10 to that poll, there are a lot of great capabilities that you may want to spend some time with us to learn more about. And there were improvements as well in security, and as well as a new administrative GUI, which was Informix HQ, that allows monitoring and management of the databases. So we would love to talk, for those of you who have, again, been using older versions and have not yet upgraded either to 12.10 or 14.10, or a current version, we would love to get together to talk about more details. For today, what I'd like to do is jump ahead, Diana, to the next slide. Thanks. Is just to focus on our latest release for HCL Informix, which occurred earlier this spring, just to make sure that everybody is fully aware that HCL Informix 14.10.10 is the current release, and with that particular edition, it is on the HCL side, it is equivalent to IBM Informix Advanced Enterprise Edition. We originally had been supporting Linux, AIX, and Windows on HCL Informix, and we made the decision this spring based on demand that we were seeing in the market and through some discussions for our customers that I would say, interested in having discussions to add Linux, Power Linux Little Endian, and Solaris Spark to the list of operating systems that we support. We also removed the FlexNet license management tool based on the popular demand, again, of some of our customers who were not particularly fond of that, and we are now going with a different license management mechanism. And so we also revamped our product documentation and developed a new evaluation edition. So that evaluation edition for HCL Informix 14.10.10 is available through Actian's ESD system, just similar to HCL Software's F&O system, for those of you who may be familiar with that. Just the site that you would go to be able to download packages and that you are licensed for. So if you are interested, again, we'll talk more about this at the end, but if you're interested in looking at evaluation editions for HCL Informix 14.10.10 or OneDB, we have those available on the ESD, and we'll be happy to share those with you. It's a time-limited edition for no charge. All right. Our services group, again, within the Actian services team, professional services team, also has upgrade support packages that are available for folks who would like to take advantage of that and would be interested in coming up to the current version of HCL Informix 14.10.10. Next. All right, so I'm going to go ahead at this point and turn over to JC to talk a little bit more in detail about some of the features that we just introduced earlier this spring, some of the latest and greatest.
Thanks, Emily. Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining the webinar. I'm coming to you from a few miles south of Boston on the east coast of the US. We've got excellent knitting weather here, wet and cold and gloomy. So I really feel for those of you in the Southern Hemisphere who are enduring warmth and sun at the moment. So in the spirit of continuous delivery, there were a fair number of features added to the XC10 fix pack, along with the normal bug fixes. Most of these were small to medium in size and importance, but one of the more impactful ones was what we refer to as the enterprise replication performance improvement feature. There wasn't one silver bullet here. It's actually a bunch of improvements that collectively had a significant effect on ER performance. And I'll describe it at a high level using this slide. This diagram is a bit busy, but it shows all the major elements of the enterprise replication architecture. To boil it down, we've got a source instance on the left with tables being replicated across the network to a target instance on the right. We've got a slew of threads and memory structures on both the source and the target working together to make this data flow happen. So you can imagine there were bottlenecks in the first couple of iterations of the feature. Customers were pushing ER to its limits. So 3 years ago, we rewrote a lot of the code to open up these choke points. Each of the black check marks you see here represents something that was either added or redesigned in the process. And the benefits have been proven in the field, especially in the high-end environments that had been straining before. This is all in the latest release of HCL Informix. It was not in the previous release. Next slide, please. I'll talk about two more replication features that were requested for a long time and are now quite popular. If you've ever set up an RSS node, you know it's worth the effort, but it does require moving all the data in the primary instance over the network to the secondary's machine. If you ever needed to drop the RSS for some reason and reestablish it, you had to go through that network intense process again. But now you can take an archive of the RSS node using either OnTape or OnBar and use that local archive to reestablish the RSS node. We don't normally recommend using this archive as a substitute for one taken on the primary because it won't contain objects that aren't replicated, like blob space blobs or raw tables or unlogged smart blobs or non-log databases. But it's perfect for reestablishing the RSS if that ever becomes necessary. You can also back up logical log files, by the way. So non-blocking checkpoints. We've had these on primaries and standalone instances for a long time. Let's step back for a sec. The purpose of a checkpoint is to synchronize the buffer pool with the disk and mark that spot in the logical log. So if we have a rude shutdown, we know we have a point of consistency where we can start fast recovery and tie up all the loose ends before bringing the server back online. Originally, during a checkpoint, we didn't allow updates until all the modified pages were written to disk, and everything screeched to a halt for however long that took. Now updates are blocked for only a fraction of a second when the checkpoint starts, but then allowed to proceed all during the buffer pool flushing phase. And we figured out how to make fast recovery work anyway. Non-blocking checkpoints came in version 11.10, and they improved throughput significantly, but until version 14.10 XC1, checkpoints on secondaries were always old school blocking for the duration. If you've got excellent throughput on a primary, but every time you checkpoint, the secondary pauses updates and kind of stalls, that can be a problem for the primary too. So we fixed this on RSS nodes in XC1, but we didn't have non-blocking checkpoints on HDR secondaries until a couple of years ago. The latest version of HCL Informix is the first one to have that feature on HDR secondaries. And it makes a big difference there, especially because of how tightly coupled HDR pairs are compared to primaries and RSS nodes. Next slide, please. The first two features here are small, but were requested from the field. Onstat-I has been around forever and shows instance-wide index stats like merges and splits. But now it displays reverse scan stats. Same with onstat-G PPF and TPF, which are partition and thread profile outputs. Normally an index is scanned from left to right, but if you're scanning from right to left because you're sorting keys in descending order or whatever, you'll see evidence of that reverse scan now in these onstat commands. And if your reverse scan has to retry from the beginning because of contention, which can happen if the table is volatile, you'll see stats on those retries as well. On-check commands aren't dirty reading tables and other objects the way onstat does, so they can run into locks in a busy system. And in earlier versions, when they did hit a roadblock, they gave up immediately, which could be annoying. Now you can add this new -W option, though, which will tell on-check to persevere and wait for locks rather than throw up its hands. It can wait indefinitely, or you can give it a specific timeout in seconds, too. The RAH in this next onstat command stands for read-aheads. Now, read-aheads are really important for performance. If they're working well, it makes a huge difference. And if they're not working well, it's important to be able to understand why, which you can't really do if you don't have enough info. We added a ton of read-ahead stats to this existing command and added 4 new pseudo tables in SysMaster that allow for queries on those stats. We've also given users more power to tune read-aheads and enabled read-aheads in a scenario we hadn't covered before. If a secondary is rolling forward a long rollback, we weren't reading ahead log pages or data pages in that case, which sounds unusual, but a large customer in Asia-Pac was seriously affected by this. So we enhanced that feature to cover this scenario, and they were much happier. Next slide, please. Query timeout. Say you write a new query you want to run in production, but you're concerned about it taking too long and hogging resources. You can set a session level environment variable to interrupt the query if it doesn't complete in, say, 10 seconds. You can also see the elapsed time for a running query in onstat-G, sys, or SQL now, which can be helpful. DB space temp is a list of spaces you want the server to use for temp tables. It used to be that all those spaces had to have the same page size. Now they don't need to, and we'll choose among them intelligently. Those 4 read-ahead related pseudo tables I mentioned a minute ago, we were able to add those to SysMaster in a fix pack due to a recent change. Before that change, we could only rebuild SysMaster during a conversion, which was somewhat rare. Now, when we want to add to the SysMaster schema, we can get those changes out to the field with the next fix pack, which is convenient for all of us. Large segment aliasing. This affects customers on AIX only, but I'll quickly describe it here. On P-series, if your shared memory segments are aligned on 1 terabyte boundaries, and you keep the number of segments under 12, your performance is a lot better. It's an architectural quirk of that platform, but we needed to roll with it once we understood it. You don't need to use any more memory for your Informix instance. You just need each segment aligned on a 1 terabyte boundary. This feature makes that happen on AIX, and we could see through benchmarking that it helped a lot. Next slide, please. We've had auditing forever, but there was nothing standardized about our audit logs. The EU and other areas of the world are scrutinizing security in certain industries a lot more closely now, obviously. And database auditing is part of that. So the auditing info we generate needs to hook better into systems that comply with these new regulations. That's what this feature is about. You can format our auditing info in new ways, filter on it, and send it straight to the syslog daemon to be incorporated nicely into all the other system level info. Next slide, please. So let's go back again to 2017 for a minute. As Emily mentioned, IBM licensed the Informix IP to HCL, but still owned it. We then had both a technical and a financial incentive to come out with an HCL branded product along with the IBM flavor. So in 2018, we released HCL Informix 1210. This satisfied the financial incentive, but not the technical one, since the products were essentially identical, except for a license manager called FlexNet that was in the HCL flavor. When we released the first version of OneDB a few years later, that also satisfied the technical incentive to make a product that was more distinct from IBM Informix. It had features mostly cloud native or driver related that HCL Informix did not have. OneDB is now the HCL branded product we're focused on for the future, and I'll give you a high level overview using the next slide. So the overall goal with OneDB is to provide all the capabilities offered in HCL Informix, along with future-proofing features such as cloud native, containerized deployment option. It's still based on the same Informix code that has proven itself in the field over the past 40 years. A secondary goal was to make the migration process as painless as possible. For instance, it's as easy to migrate in place from Informix 1210 to OneDB 2.x as it is to go from 1210 to 1410. Most of the differences between HCL Informix and OneDB are in the area of cloud native features. As I mentioned before, OneDB has the Docker containerized deployment option that's run in Kubernetes via an orchestrator. It's got a cloud native backup and restore capability, and there's no reason it can't be used on-prem. It's got the same replication, scalability, and other capabilities that the HCL Informix product has. We offer this product both directly on marketplaces as well as HCL Solution Factory, or SOFI for short, where you can get your hands directly on the cloud native version of the product and try it out in a sandbox environment. We're aiming for an elevated experience with OneDB. And one example is OneDB Explore, which is our GUI tool for administrating and monitoring the instance, or even a whole cluster. We've introduced some additional tools to help improve developer and DBA productivity, such as the new and improved REST API, a feature that's only in OneDB. We also offer simplified licensing, monitoring, and alerting capabilities. A capability of IDS that isn't all that well known in the field is its ability to run successfully with a very small memory footprint. Like we're talking under 60 megabytes. OneDB is no different, so it's a good fit for OEM and embedded environments, and we'll continue to target those markets with autonomics, a silent installer, and other technology that improves ease of use on edge devices. Next slide, please. So OneDB is the modern cloud-enabled database offering that we have. It includes advanced scale-out capabilities, hybrid storage options, and applications. It's available on multiple operating systems. Currently, OneDB is supported on Linux, AIX, and Windows. And we have a fully Kubernetes designed and supported architecture, including single-click deployment via Helm charts and ongoing management by the Kubernetes operator. It's got modern APIs, including REST, the time series API, and a Mongo API that allows any applications that are currently written for Mongo to be seamlessly repointed to OneDB with zero changes to the application for those Mongo shops that maybe chafing under a database that isn't necessarily enterprise class. We're still on the same core code base as Informix, which has been tested and proven able to support mission-critical applications with outstanding uptime and performance. That's all still available in OneDB. Next slide, please. OneDB was designed for success in a cloud-native future for our customers who are looking to modernize their stack and their applications. We have the ability to deploy OneDB on one or many clouds with little fuss via Helm charts and Docker containers with Kubernetes orchestration. We're available on all the major hyperscalers, including Azure, Amazon, Google, and Red Hat OpenShift. Again, if you're interested in kicking the tires, we have sandboxes available that you can deploy on HCL Sophie. Next slide, please. So Informix is quite well represented, if not dominant, in the gaming space. And I love these customers and their environments because they're as high-end and demanding as they come. Their test beds find performance bottlenecks that we miss even in our fastest hardware. They're also big fans of our software as far as we can tell, so we do our best to prioritize their feature requests in their cases. I'd like to share one success story from one of these customers that we've been working with and supporting on HCL Informix 1210 for the past 5 or 6 years. OpenBet, which used to be called SG Digital, is a billion-dollar gaming company that provides sportsbook technology, content, and services to the US, UK, Canada, and Australia. In those geos, they process over half the digital sports bets that are generated, as well as offering their products and services globally. What they need is a database that can support very high volume transactions with 100% availability, especially during periods of peak processing. They need proactive and preventative monitoring to ensure that during their major sporting and gaming events, there's no disruption to their business. We've enjoyed a mutually rewarding relationship with them as they've embedded HCL Informix into their sports betting platform. And of course, we're working with them on their journey to OneDB. They're looking at migrating from HCL Informix 1210 straight to OneDB 2.0.1.3, which was our May release. Testing's going well as far as we can tell, and we're hoping their first customer will have a successful cutover to OneDB by the end of the year. While working with us on the HCL Informix and OneDB product lines, they've improved their customer experience with unprecedented volume handling and reliability. They've had 100% uptime during major sporting events and can process over 85,000 bets per minute during peak times. Keep in mind that each bet in their application involves a number of transactions and a lot of number crunching on the back end. The bottom line is they're very happy with this throughput. We appreciate their vote of confidence moving forward into OneDB, and we'll be talking a little bit about OneDB 3.0 in a few minutes. We have a number of other customers who are happy to serve as references if you're interested in finding out more from other DBAs in different geographies who use HCL Informix or OneDB. Please reach out to us and we'll be happy to pair you up to get further details. Speaking of upgrades, I'd like to turn things over to Mary Schulte, who will demonstrate how easy it is to migrate from older versions of either IBM Informix or HCL Informix straight to OneDB.
Okay, hello everyone. Again, this is Mary Schulte. I'm here in Dallas, Texas in the US. So happy to talk to everybody around the globe today. Let me share my screen. I'm going to do a short demo to show you how easy it is to upgrade to HCL Informix. Hope everybody can see this. On my screen here, I have 2 PuTTY sessions. The left side of the screen represents my server environment, and the right-hand side of the screen represents my application environment. And what I want to show you is that you can upgrade to HCL Informix from IBM Informix without affecting your applications. So let's go ahead and start the demo over here. I'm going to upgrade to HCL Informix. So I'm going to show you the existing database that I'm running here. I'm going to do an onstat command. and show you my environment variables. So you see very typical installation here. I have an IBM Informix Dynamics Server 1210, and it's online. So we're going to go ahead and start the upgrade. But before I do that, I do want to show you what my applications look like. Hang on a second, I need to move this Zoom thing off my screen. It's distracting. Okay, so on my right-hand side, I'm going to show you my 4GL application. So here's my 4GL environment. I'm going to start the application. You may be familiar with this. This is the stores demo. I'm going to look for a customer. I'm going to select a customer, add a date. I can scroll through my stock that I have. I can pick a stock item, enter a quantity, and it totals the order and is going to put out a very nice invoice for my order. So that's my application. So we're going to do this upgrade, and it's not going to affect my application environment. So let's exit out of there. We're going to go back over to my left-hand side and start the upgrade. So of course, before you do any kind of upgrade, we want to back up the database. We're going to do this with an on bar, just in case something happens. Okay, we backed our database up. Now I'm going to stop the database, and you can see here I'm using very familiar Informix commands. Here I'm using an on mode command to stop the database. So it'll take a couple of moments. So upgrading to HCL Informix uses the exact same tooling that all of your upgrades with Informix, since you've been using it, it's the same kind of steps. So you can easily do this yourself. What I'm gonna do here, let me start this and I'll talk about it. I'm gonna upgrade the database to HCL Informix. I'm doing a silent install here. I'm using IDS install with these options here. And for simplicity in the demo, I am overlaying the software in place. In production environments, of course, you may want to install the new version in a separate directory and then switch over to that directory. That's a great strategy for recoverability. But here I'm overlaying it, and this is going to take just a couple of minutes. And the same process is the same if I'm going to upgrade to OneDB. So if I'm running, for example, IBM Informix 11.7, I want to upgrade directly to OneDB, I will be using the exact same steps that I am showing here. So of course, we have services that can help you with any of these upgrades. But if you have DBAs, experienced DBAs at your customer, or if you're the experienced DBA, you can certainly do these activities yourself because these are all tried and true Informix commands that we all know and love. So this should be finishing. It takes 1 minute and 58 seconds last time I timed this. And as Emily mentioned, so the Informix developers and the Informix services folks, those are all HCL employees these days. And so we're happy to help you with your upgrade. Okay, we're going to go to the next step. I'm going to restart the database with an on init -y. This will take just a little moment. So you can easily upgrade your database during a small batch window over a weekend or a convenient time like that, just as you would any other upgrade of the Informix software. Okay, you can see now that we're running HCL Informix Dynamic Server version 14.10. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to demonstrate my application over here on the right again. Notice that my environment has not changed. I'm going to do the same application here. I'm going to add an order for customer 115 this time. So works just as before. It's very important that your applications don't break. case you have, your applications may be running in different locations in the server. So you can keep those all the same. Okay, my invoice popped out, and so my application is working just as it did before. Okay, so that's the end of the upgrade. If you have any questions, or if you'd like to schedule another demo of this where I do an upgrade to OneDB, I'm happy to do that. But that is the end of my upgrade demo. It's very easy.
Thank you, Mary. I think that absolutely shows one of the main questions is how to get from one state to the other. So thank you very much for taking the time to show that to us. Alrighty, we'll put those slides back up. Thank you for everyone, especially Samira, for asking some great questions in the chat as we've been going through. We've got Emily answering those as we go. And it sounds like we may need to schedule a session to answer some more. Alrighty.
Yeah, but keep the questions coming.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thanks.
Okay, so I'm going to take over again here. I'd like to take a quick peek ahead into the future and whet your appetite using the next slide. Let's go one more. So our next OneDB release, version 3.0, has a target GA date of spring next year. Key themes for this release are Informix parity, meaning full convergence of the code line with Informix, which kind of leads to easy migration. And we want to continue to mature our cloud-native features for the containerized deployment option. So Informix parity. Both the IBM and HCL flavors of the release will have a new infrastructure that will essentially eliminate several important limits like table size and chunk size. This rather large project to upgrade our infrastructure is affectionately known as Informix Unchained, and I'll be talking more about that in a bit. We've made improvements in usability that fall under the Delight the Client theme. We're keeping current with some of the latest tools and drivers that are required and building the product on the newest operating systems using the latest compilers. In terms of the cloud native theme, we've made improvements in configurable horizontal scaling, as well as the Helm-based operator scaling for the REST and JSON listener. We're introducing cluster-level backups with Valero, a well-known third-party tool. And we've improved security with multiple facets in this release, as well as providing pre-built connectors to the Actian data platform via Data Connect for OneDB. Next slide, please. Okay, so in 1989, we were developing Informix Turbo, which was the first iteration of IDS. The design involved tables that would be made up of pages with multiple rows on each page. We decided that 4 bytes would be plenty for uniquely addressing each row. The 4-byte format we used allowed a page to hold a maximum of 255 rows, and each table could have a max of about 16.7 million pages, which seemed like a huge number at the time. Well, for some of our largest customers, it's not enough now. Yes, you can fragment tables to get around the max page limit, but even that isn't a perfect solution. For instance, when you're fragmenting by expression, you might have to think hard about how many rows are likely to end up in this or that fragment over time. So we've known for a while that the max page limit, the max slot limit, and the maximum size of a chunk needed to be increased, but we also knew it would be a huge project. So it's taken us until late 2023 but those limits will finally be blown away with the next year's release. Max table size will go from 16 million pages to 170 trillion pages. Max chunk size goes from 4 terabytes to 9 petabytes. The total storage capacity of a single instance will be half a yottabyte. I'd never even heard the word yottabyte until I did the calculations, but half a yottabyte is about 4 times the estimated size of the entire internet. It's a scary large amount of data. Query plans. So today you can get an output of the optimizer's plan for a query, but you have to ask for it ahead of time with the set explain statement. In OneDB 3.0, if you've got a query running longer than expected, you'll be able to display the plan as an afterthought. You won't have to anticipate needing the plan, which will be nice. We've got several customers who would prefer to manage smart blob data in a file system because their Informix archive takes too long, or they want to compress the data, which you can't currently do with smart blobs that we manage. So in 3.0, you'll be able to create a special kind of smart blob space that stores only metadata with the actual large objects going to a file system. You can spread them over multiple directories and round robin between them. They'll work with transactions, including rollbacks of deletes. You're responsible for archiving that data outside of Informix, though, and replicating it if you've got a cluster. But for some applications, external smart blobs might be a more convenient way to store that data. We'll see how many people go for that. The encryption at rest feature uses a key store to hold the encryption keys, and you can create a local key store or a network key store in AWS or Azure or a KMIP server. Today, you can convert a network key store to a local one, but you can't go the other way. In 3.0, you'll be able to move your keys from a local file to a KMIP server very easily. And I'm also hoping the feature will apply to AWS and Azure as well. That support is being coded as we speak, though. It should be available next year after the first 3.0 release. Invisible indexes. Let's say you have a table with 6 indexes, and you're starting to doubt whether index number 5 is being used for any of the queries in your application. You can test this by making that index temporarily invisible to the optimizer. It's still managed as the table is modified, but won't be used in any query plan. If your application continues to hum along normally, then you can drop that index to save space and get better DML performance. But if you want to make the index visible again, it's an instantaneous change, a flipping of a switch rather than a rebuild. So we're hoping that's helpful for tuning. Okay, I'm going to turn things back over to Emily.
Oh,
all
Emily,
right.
stay on this one.
Yeah, I'm still here. So sorry, I was trying to follow the chat and you caught me just a little off guard there, JC, but I am back. Can you see me?
Hmm?
All right. Yeah, so I just wanted to mention, as I had earlier in the call, that we are taking the idea of a cloud modernization journey very seriously in trying to just make sure that we are able to really meet folks where they are with various options. And so we realize that not everybody is ready necessarily to jump straight from the current product. For example, HCL Informix on-prem 1410 straight to OneDB 3.0 as we'll have in the spring, Kubernetes version. And so we have a couple of offerings that we have put out for both HCL Informix and OneDB on different hyperscalers, including the AWS marketplace and the Azure marketplace, where we have a VM version that we're starting with. And I think of that as sort of an incremental opportunity to still continue to have the same type of interactive DBA control over the database, but without all of the risk of managing the infrastructure. So for those customers of either HCL Informix or folks who might be off support for older versions, like the 11s or 12s or older for IBM Informix, if you're currently off support, but interested in learning more about what those options via the marketplace may be, I would just mention that they have all of the same great capabilities as the on-prem versions, but basically the risk of managing your own infrastructure, your aging hardware is removed, which can be a beautiful thing. And we do intend, as a part of our future roadmap, to offer for OneDB the containerized version of OneDB as well. We'll look for that hopefully next calendar year on the roadmap. And in the meantime, I would just, I guess, kind of throw a word out there that the marketplace offerings today do have availability where folks can just go directly subscribe. But if you're interested in talking with someone very friendly like Jay, who would be able to discuss things like private offer opportunities, depending on the scale of your needs and the timeframes that you're interested in considering subscriptions on the hyperscalers. There is a tool, just a tool that we have, or a way in which you can go through that process to have some discussions with a real live person, and hopefully come up with sort of a combination through the private offer that would be appropriate for your business if the VMs on the hyperscalers are of interest. And again, those have no vendor lock-in. So if somebody is using HCL Informix or OneDB on AWS this year, but decides for some reason to renegotiate a better contract for their infrastructure with Azure the following year, again, maybe Google in the future for Google Marketplace, please stay tuned for more details about how we may be able to work with you there. All right.
Awesome. Thank you, Emily. And I can only encourage everyone to reach out to your local team, being myself, and let me connect you in with the local team that helps with all of the technical side as well, and the partners that are around to assist with any kind of discussions on migration and looking at this product in more depth. At this time, I'll show you the contact us people that we have ready and willing to help out in any way, shape, or form, but also ask if anyone has any questions that they would like to open up and have themselves unmuted to ask a specific question where we can dive into the specifics. As I know we've had lots going on the chat, some might be difficult to articulate, and we'd love to be able to take that time now that we're all here. I believe if anyone wants to raise their hand or type in the chat, please feel free.
Hi, Mary. I think there were a couple of questions that came through, and there's a lot of them now where it looks like, Mary, your answers may have gone only to a select members in the audience.
Oh.
If you happen to get a chance and you wanted to cut and paste them, but to everyone, please do that. Otherwise, we can get back to the individual that asked them directly in just a minute. There's a lot to keep up with here, so. All right. Let me see if I can look through the chat.
Samira, you've got your hand up. Diana, would you be able to unmute Samira for a question, please? Ready. Samira, can we hear you? Or I'll go see if I can do that manually.
Yeah, so everybody should be able to speak freely by unmuting themselves.
Okay. Okay, Samira, you are unmuted. Go for it. Oh.
Yes, thank you. I'm Samira from Sri Lanka. I'm working at telco industry. So my biggest question is why you all are introducing OneDB without developing Informix DB, since we are using Informix for 2 decades now.
Very fair enough.
So what are the advantages we are getting if we migrated to OneDB, and is there any application level changes do we need to make if we migrated to OneDB? And also need to know what is the license mechanism if we migrated to OneDB.
I can take that one if you'd like, Emily.
There were a lot of different questions in there.
Actually, I repasted answers to them in the chat, but go ahead.
Thank you. So,
okay.
Samira, address your question, OneDB is, I guess, the next evolution of HCL Informix. HCL Informix has parity with IBM Informix at version 14.10. Post version 14.10, we see it evolve on the HCL side into OneDB, and hence the name change. We kept the name the same for HCL Informix as IBM Informix, that it is the licensed version of, to help understand that there is parity of code base there, but it does move away once you get to OneDB and become, I guess, more of an HCL native version.
I think that Mary, if I can add to that, I think Mary did, I think, a good job, Samira, of answering that within the chat. But OneDB, again, just to repeat, some of the investments that we have made above and beyond, or the differences that we have with OneDB, include that we have REST APIs that we have developed specifically for use in OneDB, and the containerized cloud native option, which is specific to OneDB, unique to OneDB. Okay, and we do expect in the future, as we continue to invest in the product line, that you will see additional benefits in our roadmap, in our delivery in the coming years.
Does that help, Samira, with those two questions around, I guess, the naming convention?
Yes, Joy. In addition to that, what are the tools available Informix compared to Oracle AWR report? Or we are using Oracle as well. So that AWR report facilitate to get high CPU and memory utilization, SQL, and lot more. So is there any tool with compared to Informix?
Samira, that sounds like a question that we may need to follow up with you on, because I think we may first need to get a better understanding of the specific types of tools and the output that you're getting from them for Oracle, to see what the corresponding similar type methodology and tools would be. But I'm hearing your question.
Absolutely.
And as I had mentioned earlier in the chat, we don't have all of our different component owners on the call tonight that are experts and that might be able to just answer you on the spot. We have just a couple of folks here. So what I'd love to do is reach out to them with some of your questions and make sure we're getting you the best response possible. And that may take a little bit of extra research into the tools that Oracle has that you're referencing first, to make sure that we have the right point of reference for starting to answer them.
Yes, thank you. One more thing. One of I don't know whether who is he. One of guy is replying in the chat answer as Informix HQ as a tool for compared to Oracle AWR report. Are you? Can I ask a question about Informix HQ as well here?
Yes.
Yes, we migrated to 1410 2-3 years back because of that tool, Informix HQ. We implemented Informix HQ in our environment, and from that we created a separate user for Informix HQ. And suddenly our instance resources that HQ user taken, and instance got stuck. Even Informix admin unable to kill that session. We gathered several statistic and uploaded SR, but we couldn't get any solution. We faced this issue in 2 times, and we didn't get any corresponse that issue properly. So finally, what we did was we kick off the Informix HQ, because we are in telco industry and we can't struggle the system such situation.
Okay, so Samira, it sounds like you were having a challenge with HQ. If specifically it was for IBM Informix HQ and a supported instance, I would highly recommend, I think I would be overstepping our bounds here to speak about that during this webinar, but I would highly encourage you to ask for the information that you need from the, if you're on a supported IBM Informix contract for that and have that module through there, that you could ask that through the support organization for IBM to have the question answered. If you are using, if you're using HCL Informix HQ, I would actually give you the very similar I would give you similar advice, which sounds like this would be a perfect opportunity to open a support ticket to make sure that our experts at technical support are able to dive into the details with you to help troubleshoot it and help get the situation resolved. Yeah. Tonight on the webinar is probably not the ideal place to troubleshoot a support issue, but it absolutely sounds to me like you.
Actually, I no need to troubleshoot here. I just want to know there is a delay in the support and there is a problem in the support arm.
Because I'm assuming it might be the IBM version. It's not something that we as HCL can comment on today, unfortunately.
But the thing is, Joy, now you all are taken Informix to under your umbrella, so you can't say like that, to my knowledge.
Fair enough. We can take that one probably offline and work through either the partner that you work with, and we can help connect some dots when it comes to how that's being supported. Absolutely, we'll do everything we can, because yes, things do come back to HCL, so we can address that.
Thank you.
Not a problem, Samira. Thank you for the questions. Did we have any other questions from around the audience? Or anyone want to raise their hands? Feel free to put it in the chat as well. Righty, it looks like that was the bulk of the questions that I can see, unless anyone has any further questions. What I will do is thank everyone for their time today to hear about HCL Informix and OneDB, and especially thank everyone for joining from a potential customer side, and also our international expertise who have stayed up extra super late, especially those on the west coast of the USA and the east coast as well. Thank you for your time. We really do appreciate it, and it's great to have you on the call to answer these questions. What the local team will do now is we will make sure to get in touch with each and every one of you regarding what you heard about today, to see if you had any further questions that have come up post-call that we can address and take on board and provide a point of view as to how HCL Informix and OneDB might be a fit to solve those, and especially areas where there are pre-existing issues and questions. Samira, I'll definitely be addressing yours. We'll see where we can provide a point of view there and potentially put you in touch with some of the right people to assist with that. So thank you for your time. We'll close off the webinar here, and we look forward to discussing HCL Informix and OneDB with you in future. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks all.
Bye.